I still remember the stunned look on Karen's face when those handcuffs clicked around her wrists. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It all started on a perfect Sunday morning when I stepped outside to admire my freshly waxed Corvette. I had spent 3 hours detailing every inch of that cherry red beauty, and the way it gleamed in the sunlight was worth every minute. That's when I noticed her marching across the street, arms crossed and face twisted into that signature scowl that had become infamous throughout our neighborhood. "Excuse me," she called out, planting herself directly between me and my car. "I need the keys to that vehicle immediately." Her voice carried that unmistakable tone of someone who believed they had absolute authority. I just stared at her, wondering if this was some kind of joke. "Karen, what are you talking about?" "This is my car," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm despite my growing confusion. She jutted her chin upward, her eyes narrowing. "That's not your Corvette. It belonged to my brother, and I don't know how you got it, but I'm calling the police if you don't hand over those keys right now." She held out her hand expectantly, as if I would simply obey this bizarre demand. Within the hour, the police would indeed arrive, but they weren't coming for me. I had moved into Oakwood Estates just 3 months ago. After years of hard work and careful saving, I had finally purchased my dream home in what was supposed to be a peaceful, upscale neighborhood. The cherry red Corvette Stingray parked in my driveway was the culmination of a lifelong dream, something I had promised myself back when I was just a teenager flipping through car magazines. What I hadn't anticipated was the immediate attention it would draw from the Homeowners Association, particularly from Karen Westfield, the HOA president, who seemed to take personal offense at my vehicle's very existence. From the day I moved in, Karen made it clear that my car was problematic. First came the politely worded notices about community aesthetic guidelines, then the less polite comments whenever she spotted me driving through the neighborhood. "That color is really quite attention-seeking, don't you think?" she'd say with a sugary smile that never reached her eyes. "Most homeowners here prefer more subtle vehicles." I always responded with an equally polite smile, while mentally calculating how many times I could rev my engine without technically violating those ordinances. The situation began to escalate when Karen started leaving neon-colored violation notices on my windshield. "Vehicle in violation of community guidelines, inappropriately flashy appearance," one read. Another claimed my car was disruptive to neighborhood harmony. I checked the HOA bylaws carefully. There was nothing about car colors or models, only rules about parking locations and vehicle maintenance. When I pointed this out at the next HOA meeting, Karen dismissed me with a wave of her hand, saying, "The board reserves the right to interpret the guidelines as needed for community welfare." The turning point came when I installed a new exhaust system. It wasn't particularly loud. I had specifically chosen one that wouldn't disturb the neighbors, but the deeper rumble caught Karen's attention immediately. The next morning, I found her staring at my Corvette, taking photos with her phone. When she noticed me watching from my window, she marched up to my door and rang the doorbell repeatedly. "Your car is now in direct violation of those ordinances," she declared when I opened the door. "If you don't remove that modification within 48 hours, I'll have it towed at your expense." Her face was flushed with the thrill of asserting control, and I could tell she was enjoying this far too much. "Karen, the exhaust is well within legal decibel limits," I explained calmly. "I specifically checked city regulations before installing it." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "This isn't about city regulations. This is about HOA rules, and as president, I determine what constitutes a violation." The threat was unmistakable, but I refused to be intimidated. I simply nodded, thanked her for her concern, and closed the door. That night, I installed a security camera aimed directly at my driveway just in case. It proved to be a wise precaution. Over the next 2 weeks, Karen escalated her campaign. She sent out a community-wide email about certain residents who were deliberately disrupting neighborhood tranquility with inappropriate vehicles. She organized an emergency HOA meeting to discuss vehicular aesthetics guidelines that would conveniently target cars like mine. When that failed to gain traction with the other board members, she resorted to more direct tactics. One Saturday, I caught her measuring the distance between my Corvette and the curb with a tape measure, apparently hoping to find a parking violation. When she saw me watching, she smiled and said, "Just doing my duty as HOA president. Someone has to maintain standards around here." The following day, I found a notice taped to my door claiming my car was leaking fluids onto the driveway. A complete fabrication that I quickly disproved with photographs showing the pristine concrete beneath my vehicle. Then came that fateful Sunday, when Karen finally crossed the line from harassment to something much more serious. I was outside enjoying the morning sun, buffing the last bit of wax from my Corvette's hood when Karen stormed across the street. Several neighbors were out as well, walking dogs or collecting mail, and they all paused to watch as Karen positioned herself between me and my car, arms folded across her chest like a human barricade. "I've had enough of this charade," she announced loudly, clearly intending for everyone to hear. "That is my brother's Corvette, and I want the keys right now." Her voice trembled with what sounded like genuine emotion, but there was something theatrical about her performance that set alarm bells ringing in my head. I stared at her in disbelief. "Karen, what are you talking about? I bought this car brand new 3 years ago." "Don't lie to me," she shouted, her voice rising. "This is Robert's car. Same model, same color. He passed away last month, and his car went missing from his garage." She jabbed a finger at the custom license plate frame. "He had that exact same frame. You stole it, and I'm going to prove it." By now, several neighbors had drifted closer, phones discreetly raised to recur. What was happening? I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Karen, I'm sorry about your brother, but this is my car. I have all the documentation to prove it." I reached for my phone, but she suddenly lunged forward, trying to grab my car keys from my hand. "Give me those keys," she demanded, her face contorted with rage. "That car belongs to my family." I stepped back, keeping the keys out of her reach, which only seemed to infuriate her further. "You're a thief, a common criminal, who moved into our neighborhood and thought nobody would notice." "I'm calling the police," I said firmly, maintaining my distance. "This has gone too far." Karen's expression shifted from rage to triumph. "I already did," she declared smugly. "I called 911 before coming over here. I reported a grand theft auto in progress. They should be arriving any minute to arrest you and impound my car." As if on cue, the distant wail of police sirens became audible, growing louder as they approached our street. 2 patrol cars pulled up and 3 officers approached cautiously, clearly confused by the scene. Karen immediately rushed toward them, pointing at me and my Corvette. "That's him. Officers, that's the man who stole my brother's car," she cried, tears suddenly streaming down her face. "I have the spare key at home and all the paperwork. He must have hotwired it somehow." The lead officer, a woman with a calm, professional demeanor, asked both of us to remain separated while they sorted things out. "Sir, can you provide proof of ownership for this vehicle?" she asked me. "Absolutely," I replied, unlocking my phone and opening my digital glove box app. "I have photos of the title, registration, insurance cards, and original purchase agreement from the dealership." I handed her my phone, showing her the documents with my name clearly listed. "I also have the physical copies inside, if you need to see those." The officer reviewed the digital documents, then asked to see the physical copies as well. I retrieved them from inside the house along with the original sales contract from the dealership. While I was providing all this evidence, Karen was becoming increasingly agitated. "Those documents are obviously forged," she insisted, her voice rising hysterically. "He probably photoshopped his name onto my brother's paperwork. Check the VIN number. It will match my brother's car." The officers did indeed check the VIN number against their database, which only confirmed what I had been saying all along. The car was legally registered to me and had been for 3 years. "Ma'am, can you provide any documentation showing your brother on this vehicle?" one of the officers asked Karen. Her confident expression faltered momentarily, but she quickly recovered. "I don't have them with me right now, but if you come to my house, I can show you photographs of Robert with the car. It's identical. Same color, same model, same everything." The officer exchanged glances with her colleagues. "Ma'am, even if your brother owned a similar car, that doesn't mean this specific vehicle belonged to him. All the documentation shows this car belongs to this gentleman." Karen's face flushed deep red. "You're not listening to me," she shouted. "He's manipulated the paperwork somehow. That's my brother's car, and I want him arrested for theft." She suddenly lunged toward me again, reaching for my pocket where I'd put my keys. "Give me those keys right now." The officers moved quickly, pulling Karen away from me. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," the lead officer said firmly. But Karen was beyond reasoning now. "You're all incompetent," she screamed, struggling against the officer's grip. "That's my car, Robert's car. I'm the president of this HOA, and I demand you do your job." She twisted free and made another grab for my keys, actually managing to catch the edge of my pocket and tear it slightly. That was the final straw. The officers immediately restrained her, and despite her continued protests, they placed her in handcuffs. Karen Westfield, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, attempted theft, and assault, the lead officer stated calmly as she read Karen her rights. The look of utter shock on Karen's face was something I'll never forget. Her eyes widened in disbelief, as if she couldn't comprehend that she was the one being arrested. "This is outrageous," she spluttered as they led her toward the patrol car. "Do you know who I am? I'm the president of the Oakwood Estates, HOA. You can't arrest me for protecting my property." Later that day, I learned from neighbors that Karen had been formally charged with filing a false police report, attempted theft, and assault. The evidence against her was overwhelming, especially with multiple witnesses and video recordings of her attempting to grab my keys. What's more, an investigation revealed that Karen didn't even have a brother named Robert. It was a complete fabrication. The judge set her bail at $25,000 and issued a restraining order preventing her from coming within 100 feet of me or my property. The consequences for Karen were swift and severe. She was immediately removed from her position as HOA president by an emergency vote of the board. Her employer, a local real estate agency that prided itself on ethical conduct, placed her on unpaid leave pending the outcome of her case. When the story hit the local news, complete with footage of her screaming, "That's my Corvette," while being placed in a police car, her professional reputation was effectively destroyed. The final blow came at her sentencing hearing 3 months later. Despite hiring an expensive attorney who tried to argue that she had been suffering from temporary emotional distress, the judge wasn't sympathetic. Karen was sentenced to 6 months in county jail, 2 years of probation, and ordered to pay a $5,000 fine plus court costs. As the bailiff led her away, her face was a mask of stunned disbelief, the reality that her actions had actual consequences finally sinking in.